This is the Global News Rodeo with Arun Chaudhary and Forrest Lovette.
Hi, and welcome back to the committee program. I am your host, Arun Chaudhary, and now your Global News Rodeo, a roundup of world events as curated by the show's own Forrest Lovette. Let's go. Item 1, a hard Labour's Day night. Labour wins in London, but still lags behind. The Socialist Workers reporting that the Labour Party won a series of local elections this Friday. The victories were in London districts, most notably the Wandsworth district, which was taken from the Tories for the first time in 44 years. Side note, famously, that's Margaret Thatcher's favorite district. I don't know exactly why. We can ask Ellie Mayo Hagan in a minute. Labour is also expected to win Westminster Council for the first time since its inception in 1964. Observers said the voters were rejecting Boris Johnson's lies and corruption and channeling their rage at the rising cost of living in the city. However, Labour did worse nationwide in this local election than they did in 2018 with Jeremy Corbyn as the party leader. Some see this as a damning verdict for current Labour leader Keir Starmer. Salford Mayor and Labour member Paul Dennett said the party needs clarity on foreign policy and was quoted saying, "We've had years and years of austerity and we're facing costs of living crisis. Facing a cost of living crisis. When we're door knocking, we see people are really frustrated at the moment with the political system." The other thing that I will say is you also did see a lot of the things, a lot of the votes the Tories lost going to both the Lib Dems and the Greens, which is just not particularly helpful. Item 2, SCOTUS, Supreme Conservatives of the United States. Leaked abortion draft looms large. Democracy Now! Is reporting on the leaked draft opinion by the United States Supreme Court and their decision to overturn the landmark ruling of Roe v. Wade. In this draft, Justice Samuel Alito wrote Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. If the draft comes to fruition, it would strip away the guaranteed federal constitutional protections for abortion rights, which have been in place since 1973. The leaked opinion says that Justice Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and Brett Kavanaugh will join Alito in voting to overturn Roe v. Wade. 13 states have already passed trigger laws that will go into effect immediately if these conservative justices have their way. These states are among 26 states in total that are expected to enact a complete ban on abortion as soon as legally possible. Speaking to Democracy Now! Attorney Catherine Colbert said that the lopsided conservative court poses a threat not only to abortion rights, but to women's rights in general, such as the ability to use contraception, the ability to be sexual with somebody of the same sex, and the ability to marry for same-sex couples. I will say we were actually supposed to have Liz Winstead, friend of the show, on tonight to speak about repro rights. She is, of course, the executive director of Abortion Access Front and is an old friend. But that was before all of this happened, and so now she is much, much too busy to come join us. So actually, Holly, Brett, and I are going to have a bit more to say about this in a bit. Item 3, Sri Lankan shutdown, millions of workers strike. Forrest, I feel like you didn't try with any of these. None of these have the spark of life. It's fine, and I'm actually really interested to hear what's going on in Sri Lanka because it's been across the whole Indian subcontinent. There's been a lot going on, but we need a little spark. Item 3, Sri Lankan shutdown, millions of workers strike. Deutsche Welle is reporting a workers' strike in Sri Lanka that had brought the country to a standstill. Millions of public and private sector workers walked out and took to the streets on Friday in protest to the government's mishandling of an ongoing financial crisis. The strike was organized by trade unions and civil organizations. Waving black flags, the workers called for the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Despite the continued pressure to step down, including protesters camped outside his office in the capital, Colombo, Rajapaksa continues to ignore demands and relinquish his power. The country is facing its worst financial crisis since it achieved independence in 1948. Last month, the Sri Lankan government was forced to default on its $51 billion in foreign debt after their reserves of U.S. dollars ran out. I mean, look, I don't even want to editorialize on this. I want to bring some people in. We should do a roundup because there's so much going on in Pakistan. There's so much going on Pakistan or Pakistan. You shouldn't mix those two things together, right? That's not what anyone's trying to do. But talking about Sri Lanka, talk about Pakistan, talk about India. I think there's enough to justify us taking an hour trip around and talking to some folks. Item 4, and I take it back, Forrest. We're hitting this one really hard. And I appreciate you. Item 4, hitting on the bong bong. Marcos a heavy favorite in the upcoming Philippines election. The Guardian is reporting that 67.5 million Filipinos will vote on Monday, May 9th, to decide on a new president, along with thousands of other positions, including the vice presidency and the Senate. The clear frontrunner is Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, the son of former Philippine dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr. According to U.S. News, Marcos is currently polling at 56%, far ahead of closest candidate Robredo, the incumbent vice president. After returning from exile, the Marcos family began to rebuild their public image. Bongbong Marcos won elections for governor, congressman, and senator before running for president. Although departing President Rodrigo Duterte will have a controversial legacy, his party, the Federal Party of the Philippines, is likely to retain its control of the presidency, with Marco also representing the PFP. And why not, right? And why not? This one is nuts. I mean, the only losers here are the Filipinos, which is not great. But this is just one for the record books.